Reports and dashboards is essentially what allows your company to stay in control by making sure that everything we are doing becomes transparent, both as end users, but also as managers trying to connect the dots. So I'm going to show examples on how we can work with Power BI reports and charts, which is a native part of the Projectum xPM offering. So right now inside the application is where I have decided to show my reports. I can also use these outside Projectum xPM's context. So you can access them from Teams, from a mobile phone, from an iPad, or wherever else you want to access these reports. We can even automate so that all the reports are sent as an attachment, maybe in PDF, every Monday morning at 8 o'clock with fresh data for all the stakeholders. So there's several ways to either push or pull reports as an end user. From here right now, I'm showing the examples on how our reports look like before they have been modified. So out of the box, we offer an experience where we have tried to connect all the different ways of working in the anything portfolio management context into one dashboard and report experience. So what we're looking at right now, let me just zoom out a little bit, like this, is that we have the portfolio landing page, which is the strategy part. So this section gives an example on how we can show portfolio and strategy on a one-pager. As we can see in the lower right corner here, we have epics, programs, projects, or whatever else type of work we want to connect and use to show inside this report. We can also have a symbol for each of them so that epics looks like this. Programs is a triangle, projects are circular. The size depends on how much cost or ROI or risks we have for each of these. So again, multiple ways to showcase a great visual representation on what's going on. In this view, we also have filters at the top. So we can filter and perhaps look at the portfolio. So selecting the Grow portfolio shows only items from the Grow portfolio. We can select multiple if we want to, like this, and immediately we see the charts being updated. We can also look at categorization, which is more into the business drivers. So anything we have that supports mandatory categorization. In this case, it's the CO2 reduction and Bay Plaza project. Or it could be something like the work type. Show me all epics. Or show me all projects, or show me all programs. So all the work items are available for filtering. We have value streams for those that are running scaled agile or similar agile methodology. So here again, we can connect the view to digital product innovation. That could be one stream, could also be operational efficiency. And finally, we have the connection to OKRs, so the strategic breakdown of the strategy we want to execute. So here we can say all the data connect to the objective of war for talent, and then we see only those projects. Or we select a specific goal from OKRs, like hire 100 FTEs like this, and then we say that, okay, that's the Pharma Deploy V300 project, which supports that goal. So the point about all of this is that we allow multi-dimensional filtering, which means that basically any role can get something valuable out of the same one-pager. That's one part of it. The other part is that we can also see here the total budget, count of projects, count of epics, and other things. And these views here are essentially clickable. So if I click on this one called Transformation, where I can see that we have 3 projects and 1 program inside that specific category. And I can also see that on the Transformation category, we should be spending 23% of our money, but we're only spending 20%. So this is another aspect of looking at data, where we can see that there's a distribution of how we should be spending our money and how we are spending our money. So overspending a little bit on growth in this case, underspending on transformation. Down here we can also see per portfolio whether or not we are over or underspending, quite often because each portfolio has its own budget. So for 2025 you are allowed to spend X amount of millions, and of course you want to track if we have said yes to too much work, or maybe we have room enough for more work to be put into the portfolio. If you move away from this view to the next one, that's the dashboard. That's a more traditional view on your project activities, where you can see them with a red, green, yellow indicator. There's a funneling mechanism, so from initiate to business case. And if we click again, we immediately filter the rest of the views to show only the projects that are in the business case stage right now. Here we can see actual cost, remaining cost. We can also see tasks that are overdue. And we can look at financials and details, which is time-phased, so and also categorized, so anything that has to do with CapEx, for instance, in 2025. And then we only focus on those numbers, and particularly what most are interested in, the cost variation. because you probably want to track which projects has the highest variation, which is of course the comparison of what was approved and what does it look like it's going to end up costing us. So if there's a big gap there, we want to focus on those and either do a change request, change the budget, or maybe put the project on pause. We also have the portfolio timeline, essentially a Gantt chart visualization of everything we have inside the system, so that can also be shared, also to those who don't have access necessarily to Projectum xPM. We have OKRs, so a way to track our goal realization. We also have, which is probably what is most important in this case, historical views on the data. So I can actually look into it as a user and see, in this case, all the projects or all the work we have against risks and business impact. But maybe the way it looks right now was not how it looked 2 months ago or 2 quarters ago or even 2 years ago. So because we have something called the Power Hub, we can actually capture all the historical values and play back the data in time, going back to the last year, the year before that, or the month before that. Or we could do the reverse and play the data from the earliest point in time to where we are today. And if we want to, we can even create a prediction looking further ahead into the future. The point about this is that it might look great that this next generation product has had low risks, for instance. In this case, it actually has high risks. But if we click on it, we can see that it took a path from at some point being medium risk impact assessed to now being high risk impact assessed. That might not be the same case for the rocket project or the product rollout. So again, for each of the items, we can see over time how things have progressed. Resource-wise, we can of course see the capacity. Do we have the sufficient amount of available resources with the right role or the right skills? So the demand and capacity is easily viewed and assessed from here. And then we have an ideation view, which is most often for those who are working on the intake process of new ideas. So all the ideas we have right now, are they supporting a certain direction? Is it the right direction? Or do we need more ideas supporting another direction? So again, in this case, all ideas are visualized, including how they're scored. There's also a bubble chart right here. And we can also see on this one, if we expand a bit, that right now most ideas are supporting growth and differentiation, whereas very few are supporting improvements or mandatory work. So maybe we want to change that a little bit, but at least the data will show you that you have the problem, and then it's up to you to change that problem, of course. Timesheets could also be part of it, where you want to see who has captured time and on what items, and typically it's per resource or per role. That's very much the resource managers looking at those data. And there is also the option to have some ranking, lightweight ranking, I would say, added into the report so that you can look at all the projects or all the work combined. And then you can click on certain areas like environment, for instance, and say, what if it was environment or ESG targets that was the most important? What would then be the result? And then it in real time reprioritizes the ranking on the left-hand side. Same thing with ROI, same thing with strategic impact, maybe all of them combined. So this was just one example on what we can do based on 20 years doing project portfolio management when it comes to reports and dashboards.